Right, here we go. This is the third and final instalment of Super Lizard Begins. So far, if you've been watching the previous videos, then you will know where we're at. If you've not, you might want to watch those before. So, at the moment, a Facto Gecko has walked around a toxic dump. They've turned into a 10-foot superhero lizard with laser beams that fire out their eyes. And they've walked to the next local village and are about to steal a packet of crisps. So let's see what happens next. The thing about having a brain is that it works in funny ways. We hear on the news how cruel and horrible man can be. Often the stories of kindness and bravery are overlooked. Being human may mean being horrible sometimes, but it also means having a conscience. As soon as Roper got to the door, he felt bad. Something inside him told him stealing was wrong. He turned and headed for the counter, taking out the stand containing bags of sweets with the large bones in his tail in the process. That shifty look from left to right came again. This time it wasn't to say, "I didn't do it." This time it was to check if anyone had noticed. As they had all run out screaming some time before, he thought he had got away with it. When he got to the counter, he placed the crisps down and gave a small cough. The cashier, slowly and rather shakily, rose to his feet. Roper could hear his teeth chattering in his mouth. He could see beads of sweat fret on his forehead and noticed the nervous twitch in his leg. The silence lasted what felt like a lifetime. To a fly, who had just flown into a car window, safe to say only a few seconds really. It takes many years to learn language, but Roper found that, in stories at least, one side of toxic waste was the ability to speak English despite not ever hearing half the words he was about to use. He coughed once again to clear his throat. He didn't need to. It just seemed right. I would like to purchase these crisps but have no means of payment," he said with a croak, as if he had lost his voice a week ago and was only just trying it out again. The cashier's face turned from shocked amusement, where both eyebrows The cashier's face turned from shock to bemusement, where both eyebrows had been raised and his mouth wide open. One eyebrow dropped and the opposite side of his mouth turned up. All he could manage was, "You what?" Roper coughed again. "I do not have any cash on me, but would like to partake in devouring these potato-based snacks." This time it was less croaky as Roper got used to speaking English. Well, just speaking in general. But, the cashier replied, "You're a 10-foot lizard. You could just rip my head off and take the crisps." He suddenly regretted saying that. When faced with a scary monster bent on eating some sort of food, telling them the best way to tear you apart is not a useful strategy. "Oh no," replied Roper. "No need for that. The crisps will be fine." The cashier was about to say, "Take them then," and then followed that with a healthy bit of running away. But for some reason his curiosity got the better of him. He simply replied, "So you're not some kind of evil monster then?" "Don't think so," said Roper. "Never really given it any thought." At that moment the cashier had a great idea. It's probably useful at this point to explain that the cashier hated his job. He failed his GCSEs through lack of trying, and although he wanted to move on in the world, it was all too much effort. However, having a 10-foot lizard as a friend, that would make life easier. Ever thought of fighting crime? No. Would that not involve beating people up? "Yeah," said the cashier excitedly. "Wouldn't it be great?" "Not really. I'm not one for all that violent stuff." "Oh, we could just tie them up and hand them to the police," the cashier stated in a questioning manner. "I go for a bit of that." "So it could be like a crime-fighting team. You know, just like the X-Men, Batman and Robin, Starsky and Hutch, or, Lilo and Stitch?" The cashier trailed off towards the end. "If you want, as long as it isn't too scary." "Cool, you can be the hero and I'll be the sidekick. We can be Super Lizard and..." There was a pause. Roper filled it. "What's your name?" "Tony," replied the cashier. "Cool, so we're Super Lizard and Tony, crime fighters." Yeah, not sure Tony works." "How about Lizard Boy, or the Dynamic Man, or the Decriminator?" "I like Tony." "Okay, Tony it is," said Tony rather dejected. "So, when do we start?" "Whenever. We will need some costumes, but there's a fancy dress shop in the next town over." Could start there, if you want. It's going to be well good, Tony replied, jumping a little on the spot in excitement. I reckon you could well crush someone with that fat tail of yours. Ropo's face dropped. He stared at Tony. Rather than shooting lasers from his eyes, he uttered those 3 fateful words. It's big-boned. The end. So there we go. That's Super Lizard Begins. It was supposed to be sort of an origin story, a bit of fun and a joke for National Short Story Week. I can't remember which one it was, but I enjoyed it so much that I wrote another collection of stories. There's 4 more Super Lizard stories. I haven't written any for a while, but I was partway through one and I stopped, so I might go back to that. But for now, if you want to read that yourself, the link is below. Either Wattpad or Smashwords. There is Super Lizard Returns, which is 4 more short stories about Super Lizard. Each one is slightly longer, and I think slightly more interesting. Maybe not as funny in parts, but slightly more interesting. So yeah, thanks for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments here, or if you go to Smashwords, Wattpad. In fact, it's all linked into like iBooks and all that, and Barnes and Nobles, all that, and just pop on a review if you want, or if you don't have to. But until next time, I don't know why I saluted.